Welcome to my almost completed home. It's been 3 years in the making and we are 1 weekend from moving in. So let's take a look. So this house was originally a 1960s ranch style home that we kind of took down to the studs, but I really wanted to keep all the original elements. So one of the elements of a 1960s ranch home is the fact that the ceilings are lower. Part of me wanted to raise them, but I decided I wanted to keep that element. And if you take a look, the whole space is open. This house originally was closed off and it actually had 4 different rooms. There was a wall there, there's a wall over here. The kitchen, believe it or not, this big kitchen was actually all the way in that back corner, which it was like this little galley kitchen with no natural light, which I said, no, that's not gonna work. We blew out that whole wall, added windows, and now the whole room is filled with natural light. One of my favorite elements of this house, I have to say, is the kitchen because it's so open. And it's not just open in terms of open to the living, it's open with the shelving. These shelves were 2 of my favorite elements, and believe it or not, it was a lot cheaper to stick up 2 shelves than it would have been to fill this with cabinetry. So I wanted to give it a try. I've never had open shelving before, so I don't know how it's gonna fit with my lifestyle, but I have my fingers crossed that it'll be fine. Another element we did in this kitchen that was a little unique for my style was I decided to use a tongue and groove pine instead of an actual tile. Tongue and groove pine is cheap, it's easy, and all we did was painted white, and I actually think that the tongue and grooves give a lot of texture to the wall. Believe it or not, this is a 4,000 square foot home. That's 4,000 square feet of flooring, 4,000 square feet of sheetrock, and the cost of that totally caught up to me when I was doing this. So what I had to do was I had to cut costs where possible. One of the first things I could do were the countertops. I really wanted a Carrara look. I couldn't quite afford a Carrara marble given the size of this kitchen, so what I did was I went with an off-brand quartz. I used something called agranite instead of silestone, and what that is it's still the exact same composite material, just not paying for the name. As we head along, one of my favorite features of this kitchen too is the Bosch range. I wanted a Thermador, I wanted a Viking, I wanted all these super nice ones, but realistically it just wasn't in the budget, so I decided to go with a European brand. I ended up getting custom cabinets made for this house, and the uppers we just went with standard inserts because custom inserts can be kind of expensive, but down low I went ahead and I got the custom drawers made. That way it's a lot easier to access everything that's inside. 2 of my favorite things in this kitchen are right here at the sink. I love the sink, it's big, it's open. I know there's team kitchen sink divider and team not kitchen sink divider. I am definitely on team not divider. I like it all to be open, and I like that I can put my dirty dishes right here and I can push them over. But let's be real, I don't do dishes in my household, so that'll probably be my husband's deal. My other favorite part of this is the window. I know I look right out at the neighbors, but there's trees between us, and I love it. It kind of brings in a nice natural light without being too private. One of my pet peeves with this kitchen is undoubtedly the outlets. It's a code thing, and I thought we could get away with not doing any outlets over here because realistically, I don't need outlets when I'm washing my dishes, but Austin code says we have to have an outlet near the kitchen sink, so we got stuck with this big black ugly gadget. But you know what? It's fine, right? I have a whole rest of the house to love. I don't even need to focus on that. Another one of my favorite features is this fridge, this built-in big fridge that I don't even know what I'm gonna do with. I eat out most nights, and I'm really hoping that now that I have this big kitchen, I'll actually use it. Even the freezer. I mean, I imagine I'll probably be able to fill it with ice cream, but let's be real, I don't work out enough to earn that much ice cream, so I probably shouldn't. One of the more difficult things in this house was figuring out what light fixtures would work for this space. Just because it's so open, it's big, we needed a light fixture that was kind of girthy, but the ceiling's so low that we couldn't do anything that was too long and lean. So I ended up landing on these fixtures by Rejuvenation. I love them because they're modern, a little bit farmhousey, and I think they're gonna fill that monochromatic palette that I wanna see in the house. I also love, I have to say, these chairs. I found them at CB2. CB2 and West Elm are 2 of my favorite stores. If I'm not at the grocery store, if I'm not eating, and if I'm not at work, there's a very good chance I'm at West Elm or CB2. They have some of the best modern and rustic furniture, mid-century, all of it. You can find all of it there. Unquestionably, the most expensive thing in this house is all of the metalwork. We have metalwork going up the stairs, we have metalwork Upstairs, I didn't really want any walls that were between spaces. If it could be opened up, I wanted to open it up. And the way we could do that safely was by putting metal railing all over. So we even have a ton of it on a deck upstairs, and we'll get to that in just a minute. One of the few all original features of this house is this brick fireplace. As crazy as it sounded, at one point we had most of the walls down in this house, but this fireplace was still standing up because for whatever reason, I had some kind of like emotional attachment to this fireplace and the bricks, and I really wanted to try to preserve it. And the same goes for the outside of the house. All the brick on the exterior is completely original, and it took a lot of work and a lot of money to save it, which in hindsight, I probably spent more money trying to save the bricks than had I just rebuilt it, but that's kind of the way restoration goes. I also threw this wood mantle on top of the brick. Originally there was this big bulky piece that was hanging out, and I wanted to go with something simple, and I wanted to go with something that would tie into the rest of the house. So you'll see that I have the same mahogany stain here that I have in the kitchen, and I have the exact same stain out in the fence. That way everything kind of flows together into an indoor and outdoor living situation. Another hard thing was picking out all the furniture for this room. I'm in the process of still trying to find pieces, but so far what I had, again, probably 75% of it's from West Elm. It's all low profile, and the reason I wanted to do low profile was so that nothing took up too much space, nothing drew your eye away from the kitchen, nothing draws your eye away from the fireplace. Those are the most important elements. The furniture is just there for utility. Why don't we take a look in the media room? So like I said, that entire room was all a bunch of chopped up rooms that we opened up. This is another room that we kept kind of closed off, but we kept a walkway all the way through. I wanted to be able to see the kitchen from all of the living spaces in the house. This was originally a doorway. There's actually a door here, and then on the other side there's another door, which makes absolutely no sense. I don't know why people in the 1960s loved their doors so much, but they did, and we got rid of them. I actually kept this space a little bit small too because I wanted to make it feel cozier. It's always important to me if I'm having a game night or a TV night, a movie night, I don't want to feel like we're all spread apart. I want to feel tighter, and I want to feel like it's more intimate. So that's why we picked this furniture. I almost wanted to trap everybody in this space. Sorry, friends. There's really nothing fancy about my laundry room just because I don't care much about laundry. But if you live in Austin, Texas, there's a very good chance you have a dog. And if you have a dog like me, if you have multiple dogs, you need to bathe them, which is why I built a dog shower down here. And honestly, it really wasn't that difficult. We just finished it out like a normal shower, used the Red Guard, all the waterproofing, and this is just a handheld feature from a tub, just your standard soaker tub, mounted it on the wall, bam, you have a dog shower. Let's check out the guest bath, because that's actually one of my favorite rooms. So this is a room that was technically not a bedroom because it didn't have a closet, but one of the things we did to get around that was we put in a wardrobe closet system. We haven't quite finished it yet, I need to trim it out up top, but it functions just like any other closet would. It's got hanging space, folding space, it's got drawer space, it's got all this stuff. But one of my favorite parts of this room is the bathroom. I actually like it better than the master. Partially because of these cool vanity lights. I love how clean and modern this room is, although one thing that's forever gonna irk me is the fact that this is a polished nickel, this is a chrome. These two metals do not match. I know most people in the world would never notice that. It's something that I'm gonna see every single time I walk in this room. But it's fine because it all looks pretty. I also love the shower just because it's so clean, it's so modern, it's so simple. I think sometimes with design, people can get a little bit too tied up on going overboard, and to me, simple is beautiful. Let's check out the upstairs. Although before we get upstairs, you're gonna see my favorite light fixture from West Elm. I love the kind of the Sputnik look, but it's still got a little bit of a rustic feel. I told you before, there's metal everywhere in this house. It's upstairs. And one of the reasons I put it up here was because I really wanted to get all that natural light from those windows in. This was originally a wall, so you couldn't see through, which to me is a total waste of natural light. If you're bringing in all this light, you might as well get it in all the rooms. Over here is the master bedroom. There's really nothing too exciting about the master bedroom, other than the fact that I did use some more of that tongue and groove pine for texture. I don't necessarily want a lot of color in my rooms, but I love texture, and by using the tongue and groove on a wall, It just gives it a little bit more than an empty blank white wall. And once we get some art up there, it's gonna be mwah. The master bath is the epitome of my style. I love light, I love bright, I love clean, and I love marbles. And all of that came together in this room. But kind of a little fun fact, the floors aren't actually marble. If you look at them, they look like marble, but they're porcelain. Porcelain's so much cheaper than marble, and in a house of this size, we really had to cut costs wherever possible. And that same tile actually flows all the way into the shower. We used a matte tile on the floor, but we have polished on the walls. On the floor is the only place in this house you're gonna find actual marble, only because all of the knockoff versions of that Carrera looked kind of crappy, so we went with the floors. I typically like to renovate my houses for resale value, and you typically lose a bit of resale when you don't have a closed-in toilet space, but you know what, we're gonna be here for a long time, didn't matter to me. And on top of that, it's still kind of private because this glass is totally frosted, which I know it's a little bit weird to have this many windows in a bathroom, but I love natural light. I'm a natural light whore, it is what it is. This was my solution. It's completely private from the outside, can't see in, but I can still get all the natural light I want. Speaking of the closet, if I had my way, this closet would be 10 times the size it is. Unfortunately, there wasn't space in the house for it, so we went ahead and finished out this space as best we could while still on a budget. We used a company called More Space Place. They're a little bit cheaper than California closets, but I love the way it turned out. And if you pan around, you kind of see that there's a lot of women's clothing in here. My husband and I originally planned to share the space, but he decided he wanted his own space. So what we did was we turned our linen closet into a his closet. And for the little amount of clothes he has, it works perfectly. Again, in this room, it's just important to make sure when you have small spaces, you have to fill the space with as smart of a finish as possible. And this is the best way to do that. Actually, one other fun thing in here, we actually have belt rack and tie rack. Again, small space, so important to be as efficient as possible. Let's check out the guest space. So this side of the house is actually closed off by this pocket door, and I wanted that because it's just my husband and I living here. So when we don't have guests, we don't need this side of the house, and if we don't need it, why use it? But over here, we have 3 bedrooms and a bathroom, and this is ideally gonna be the kids' space someday. This bathroom is super clean, super simple, same palette, we went with the marble look, still it's a quartz, and we used some gray accent tiles, just so that the bathrooms were all a little bit different. The rest of this wing is just bedroom, 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 nothing exciting, except the one cool part is the deck. We went all out on our deck, and it's pretty cool. When we were doing the plans for this house, we were torn whether to make this heated and cooled space or whether to make it a cool deck. And honestly, if we had gone with the more space, we wouldn't have used it. So we decided we wanted to do something that was fun, something that was cool, something that was unique, and that was this deck. We haven't quite finished it yet, but in the end, we're gonna have some hammocks, a table, some chairs. This should almost function as another outdoor room. Another cool feature that we haven't gotten to yet is our upstairs yard. Over here is gonna be finished with turf. That way, you never have to go downstairs, just use the yard. I also would love to see like raised beds, gardens, all kind of fun things up here. I think this is a great space. It gets tons of natural light during the day. There's no reason that this can't be a yard. There's some really cool elements of this deck too. We've got this huge pergola, which I wanted because I wanted a little bit of shade, but I also didn't want to lose any of the natural light. I told you I'm a natural light whore. I wanted all of it. And I also wanted a little bit of privacy from the neighbors. So this wood screen was the solution we came up with for that privacy. It'll still let natural light in, but it'll screen us a little bit from their yard. Another fun fact, after we built this, we just had our final inspection a couple days ago. The inspector actually said that we were gonna have to tear out this entire pergola because it's at 7 feet. And technically by Austin code, you have to have 8 feet. 1 foot of a difference meant we were gonna have to rip out all this wood, all this metal, and like I said, metal was the most expensive thing we did in this house. So had we had to tear this all out, that would have literally cost us over $10,000. Thankfully, I'm a charmer, so the inspector let it slide. One of our long-term goals for this is to actually get a staircase that goes down from this deck all the way into the yard. It's a little bit out of budget, so we're gonna have to push it off for a while. But believe it or not, this yard actually used to have a pool. Usually when people buy a house, they build a pool, they don't tear it out. We decided we wanted to tear out the pool just because we wanted more grass space, and frankly, I don't want to deal with pool maintenance. So now when you look at the yard, it's just one big open space. Another fun feature of this house is the fact that every single bedroom has its own deck. And by its own deck, I mean its own private deck. And one of the reasons we bought this house too was because of the trees. When you're upstairs, and that's actually one of the reasons I put the master upstairs, is that you look out and you feel like you're in a tree house, which is a level of privacy that I've always wanted, but living in the city, I've never been able to have. Without question, the outdoor space was the most important to me. I wanted our front yard to live just like we live in the backyard. Outdoor dining, outdoor seating, all of it. And this is what we created. Back when we bought the house, there was a brick wall that went all the way down and the entry was all the way to the right. What we did was we knocked down the brick wall, we opened everything up, and we made it so that it's completely inviting. I even envisioned for this space having an outdoor kitchen someday over here. And once we can finally afford to get all the furniture we want, I want a table, I want chairs, I want hammocks. I want it to be a place where everybody in the neighborhood can come and hang. Thank you for coming to my house. I can't wait to show it to you once it's furnished.